So this was actually historically I've done this section before the one that we just did, but since we were kind of like in the zone with proportions, I thought maybe flipping them around would be a little bit better. So I didn't have time to like rename my presentation here, but it doesn't really matter for you guys. What we're going to look at is similar figures in the coordinate plane, which math-wise, these are really easy to do. The downside is you have to graph. So your assignment, and this video, I'm filming this using Cami. We haven't used that since first semester. That's what we're going to be using to do the assignment. So I thought, kind of as a refresher, I would film my video for the notes in it as well, just to kind of refresh you on the different tools that you're going to need. So what we're going to be looking at is a figure. I typically stick to triangles, but there's a quadrilateral, I think, on the homework, where you have to enlarge or shrink down a figure using a scale factor, which we talked about earlier. So it's actually called a dilation, which is what the pupil in your eye does when the light turns on, the pupil in your eye gets really big and really small depending on how much light is in the room. If you've never seen that, it's pretty cool. Go into the bathroom, turn the lights off, get real close to the mirror, and then flip the lights on, and you can see your eyes, your pupils kind of do their thing. It's pretty neat. Anyway, for us, a dilation is either we're going to dilate a figure and make it larger, or if it's a large figure, we're going to dilate and make it smaller, which you're going to do both on your homework. Now, the difference is what the scale factor is. So depending on how your original figure is, I thought this little graphic here kind of sums it up nice. If you dilate your figure by a scale factor that is less than 1, your figure is getting smaller. So like the tiger here on the right, if I made it half as large, its scale factor is less than 1, it's going to get smaller. The flip side of that, if it's a small figure, I can dilate it by a factor bigger than 1 and it'll get bigger. So basically think about how fractions work and how whole numbers work. Fractions are smaller, they're going to get smaller. Whole numbers are bigger, they're going to get bigger. Okay, I try and stick to pretty straightforward fractions like halves or 1/4. You're not going to do anything where you have to do a scale factor of like 5/6. It's not something I would typically do. Okay, so the way this is going to work out, I'm going to give you a figure and a scale factor. You're going to take the points, the coordinates for the points, and you're going to multiply each number in the coordinate by that scale factor. So this first one here, I want to dilate it by a factor of 2. So that means our result is going to be twice as big as the one that you started with. So for your homework, okay, here's how I would do this. Grab a scratch sheet of paper. I'm just going to kind of work out to the side here. Grab a scratch sheet of paper, and you're just going to jot down, okay, whoops, A is at, let's see, that's 2, 4. So when I double that, my new A is going to be at 4, 8. I literally took each number here and I multiplied it by 2 because that was my scale factor. 2, 4 becomes 4, 8. Okay, and you do that 1 point at a time. So I'm going to go to B. B is at 1, -2. So when I double that, my new B is at 2, -4. Now, something for the people new this semester, you didn't get this first semester when we did our translations and reflections and rotations and all that. The second, this little notation here is called a prime notation. When you go to type stuff in, it's just an apostrophe. But what it's doing is it's telling me this is the new A, right? That way I can distinguish between the original picture and the new picture. And then C is at, what's that, -1, 3. So when I double that, my new C prime, is at -2, 6. It's because I ran off the page there. So I'm going to go back and I'm going to graph those 3 points real quick. A is at 4, 8, way up here. So I'm going to put my dot there. B prime is at 2, -4 here. And C is at -2, 6. Now, I have this little tablet that I'm using to kind of do my writing. You guys aren't going to have that. So the way I would like you to label these is just go to your text tool, and real quick you're going to type in A prime. Over here, text tool, C prime, and down here, B prime. Just type them in. It's going to be a whole lot easier than trying to write with your mouse. And then to connect the dots, go down to the shape tool, and there is a insert line. That's the one you're going to use. Change the colors if you want. I don't particularly care. And then you're just going to draw point to point, draw point to point, point to point. Now, it's okay if these figures overlap. Sometimes they will, sometimes they won't. It just kind of depends. The scratch work over here isn't necessary if you can kind of keep it organized in your head and do one point at a time, but I wanted to illustrate what's happening here. Okay, next one. So we're going to dilate by a factor of 1/2, so it's getting smaller. So my point here, D is at -6.8. This guy's at -6.8. So half of that, my new D is going to be at -3.4. E is at 4.6. So half of that is going to be at 2.3. F is at 10, -6. So half of that is 5, -3. Whoops. I'm going to erase that guy. Okay, so grab your text tool real quick. So before you forget where anything's at, D prime. And then this one was E prime. This one is F prime. Shapes. Draw your line. Point to point. Just click and drag, and it'll make a nice straight line from point to point. Now, something we could get into, we're not going to, but it's just kind of worth noting. When you do this, when you dilate a figure, if you notice like the original line DE and the new line DE, they're parallel. The new line EF and the old line EF, they're parallel, and same with the DFs. I think it's kind of neat. Okay. Again, if you haven't used Cami in a while, especially since you've gotten new Chromebooks, you might have to install that add-on again. If you're new, please send me an email, reach out, something if you haven't used this before and you're having issues. Once you get it installed, basically what it lets you do is it lets you write or annotate or type or however you want to call it on a PDF. Okay. Don't wait until the last minute to try this. Get it open, mess around with it. If you can get it to work, great. If you can't, let me know as soon as possible. Stop.